Breaking news, the Business Roundtable Optimism survey surges to its highest level in 7 years, and this dovetails news from the NFBI, which is the Small Business Association. Small business optimism, that remains elevated, but it all comes with a warning, and this is from the NFIB. If the healthcare and tax policy discussions continue without action, optimism will fade. Joining me now to discuss, Tammy Bruce, Rich Lowry, Scott Brown, and Peter Morici. Dr. Morici, I'll go to you first. Optimism through the roof. We're starting to see it manifest in different ways, from jobs to corporate earnings. But there was a warning there from both sides, small businesses at large, that D.C.'s got to get its act together.
Absolutely. The American businessmen expect that the tax system will be rationalized and they'll be rid of Obamacare, especially small businesses. It's very, very important that the Congress follow through. I read today that Boeing has gotten on board with the Brady plan. You know, for corporate taxes, that's wonderful. We need to see other companies that are going to have pluses and minuses from these tax reforms step up so the president has the support, that Brady has the support he needs to get this through Congress and get these businesses the relief they need so we can move forward.
Jamie Dimon today says, Tammy, the number one thing was tax reform. He says this is a once-in-a-generation chance to overhaul the tax code. 79% of these CEOs say that's the number one thing that could spark the economy. Okay, we're past the argument over whether or not the administration should have done this first. But if they dilly-dally too long with Obamacare, this stuff fades away.
Well, it does, and even the Rasmussen Daily Tracking Poll shows him at just 46% approval rate, probably the lowest approval index of -13 since in his 51 days. And even the public is reacting, at least to the impression that there's chaos in Capitol Hill. Now, we know it's the Republicans in Congress, but they're also looking for Trump to control that chaos. It does go back to the commander-in-chief. So everyone, the Small Business Roundtable, regular business, regular people, not only do we know Trump can do it, but we expect him to operate as a leader across the board. He needs to begin to show that. The other problem is communication out of the White House. And now all of it pretty much controlled by the GOP establishment or the Rove dynamic. Reince Priebus, Sean Spicer, and Dubke now is controlling the communications office. We know the Republicans are not good at communication. So I'm still concerned about that. But Donald Trump has to ramp up communication about what he is doing, and then also he must intervene and show that, in fact, he's the boss and convey that to Congress.
Scott Brown, I know you always bring up the fact it's only been a few months, a couple of months. Give him a chance, yada, yada. We're with you, my man, but we're also spoiled. A lot of things have been done in those first 50 days, and a lot of people want to see this continue, the momentum, and you're hearing it from business, both large and small.
Yeah, I don't disagree with him, and he still does not have his full cabinet, which I find really outrageous. 51 days, and he still has four people still outstanding. So he's actually battling not only the establishment, but also the Democrats and everyone else in between without a full arsenal at his disposal. With regard to Obamacare, yeah, listen, when you have something that's 7 years of a mess, it's going to take more than 51 days to undo it if you want to do it correctly. And I'm hopeful that they'll do it correctly. And then tax reform, yes, Charles, I agree with you. It's a no-brainer. We have to, I would immediately repatriate all that offshore money, just do it as a separate tax bill to immediately get that non-governmental stimulus bill like right away. Yeah. That's the first thing I'd do if I had a chance to speak to Mnuchin.
It's so funny talking about that, Rich. Yesterday, that Intel deal of the $31 billion they have offshore, they say, what the heck, we're going to use $15 billion to buy another company. And I think that's the sort of risk. Companies will start to act more in a self-defensive manner like they have for the last 8 years. Right now, they're ready. They're ready to spend. Right. They're ready to spend on buildings, hiring people. They just need the green light.
Right. So this mood is, you're right, it's all about readiness. And the mood shifted almost immediately. The day after the election,
yeah.
It shifted.
Just pour hot water like romaine noodles or whatever, yeah.
Right, yeah, that's my whole college existence right there, Charles. But on the expectation that things would happen and policy would change, and that's just why everyone's right. The stakes in the Obamacare debate are so huge, because if this thing goes down, it's a substantive and political debacle, and it will take down other things with it, very likely including tax reform. So Trump will have to take a position on some of these specific issues dividing the party and drive the debate and twist some arms.
I think everyone's looking up to him to do that as well. You know, of course, the business agenda, everybody wants Trump's agenda to happen in business, but they're also concerned about a trade war. You know, one of the big stories in the last 24 hours everyone missed that makes maybe a trade war unavoidable unavoidable. Ford, yesterday, big news. They're going to build a big factory out in China. They've got huge demand for those luxury SUVs. The company, though, has to take on a Chinese partner. And by the way, the reason they've got to build the plant there is to avoid 25% tariffs on trucks if they made them here and shipped them. Obviously, Peter Morici, this is not fair trade.
No, it's not. China doesn't play by the rules, and it hasn't for some time. Now, this is something Trump could act on much quicker. But instead, Peter Navarro has got one employee. He's not even in the White House. He's across the street in the Eisenhower building. And Gary Cohn, who's a very capable guy and a very capable bureaucrat, as we learned at Goldman Sachs, is keeping him marginalized. What you've got here is a war between those folks like Bannon and Navarro who helped Trump win the White House, and now these other folks who've been brought on board and represent the New York let's continue as we are agenda with China because they're interested in opening branches of banks. This is not good for American industry, and it doesn't show that the president is really serious. It was a basic promise. He's backed off it. It's not good news. I'm very disappointed.
Scott, when you crisscross Massachusetts in that old pickup truck, you felt what people knew and eventually became the Trump phenomenon. And that's that these opportunities are leaving our country because of policies that we never pushed back against.
That's true, and we've had 8 years of not pushing back, and we have an opportunity now. I know Ford's building in China. It's not unusual that they kind of go around the traditional tariffs and the like by getting a partner in China. They're building for China. None of those vehicles are coming home. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but we should have an opportunity.
But if they didn't have a 25% tariff, but I got to say, if they didn't have a 25% tariff, maybe they could build the plant here and ship the trucks there.
That's what I was just going to say, Charles. I said, however, we should be able to build the plant here and ship them over and not pay the 25%. So I don't disagree with you at all.
Right.
And it's going to take a full cabinet, his full complement of cabinet secretaries, to do this. And let's get cracking here, Democrats. Get them done.